I remember years ago in the year 2019, I was in Rome and I was staying in this hotel that was owned by a Sicilian nun. And this hotel was marketed as a place where pilgrims could stay as they were staying in Rome. Pilgrims could get room and board here as they were going through a pilgrimage in Rome. They want to see Vatican City. They want to see St. Peter's Basilica, St. Peter's Square, and they could stay in this hotel. And I remember one night I was in the hotel and this guy passed by me. He was this super tall guy. And little did I know that this guy was going to be my driver, who would drive me to a village that was within a county called Pietrarubia the next day. So the next morning, I get into the car with this guy and he starts driving me. And so we start talking. And of course, I ask him about uh, you know his life and all this stuff, and it turns out that this guy is a monk. It turns out that this guy is part of a monastery, and he's a member of a monastery in the village that we are heading towards. So I start asking him about what inspired him to become a monk, and he starts telling me, the typical story that people who join a monastery would tell you, that God inspired him, that he felt that this was God's calling, he felt that this was his life's purpose, and uh, within 10 minutes of the conversation, he starts to give me this weird compliment. He starts telling me, Theodore, I get the impression that you are truly a man after God's heart, and that you truly, truly want to know God, and that you are a man who really is pursuing some kind of pursuing God, that you're pursuing divine knowledge, something like that. And he just starts giving me this huge compliment that you would never give to someone that you just met, unless you're trying to manipulate that person. So once I heard this crazy compliment, I'm thinking, we just met each other, and you're telling me this within the first 10 minutes of our conversation, upon us first meeting. I mean, this is strange. And I'm sort of thinking to myself, you son of a bitch, you're trying to manipulate me. Because at that point, this was in 2019, at that point, I had already dealt with several predators within the Catholic clergy. So I wasn't naive. I wasn't unfamiliar with Catholic predator clergy members. And this guy wasn't a priest, he was a monk. So, but nonetheless, you have monks who are predators as well. Don't think that it's just the priests. You also have monks who will pray after men, who will pray after young men. And I didn't really feel settled with his words. I didn't feel complimented. I felt like this guy was trying to lure me into something. He was trying to manipulate me. That's what this guy was trying to do. And this became quite obvious because I went to the village. It was a nice little village. Well, it was a little bit creepy at night. At night I felt like I was in a Resident Evil video game. If you've played Resident Evil 4, you know what I'm talking about. But I forgot the name of this village. Actually, yeah, I think I was told one time what the name of the village was. But I do remember the name of the county, because every time we had to go back to the monastery, the county was what was mentioned. We have to go back to Pietrarubia. We have to go back to Red Rock. That was the name of the county in which this town was located. And I remember, I spent about 2 weeks in this village, and on my in like the second to the last night, yes, I want to say in the second to the last night that I was in this village, I was having dinner. one evening, and I was talking to people, and there was a lot of people around the table, and I'm waving my hands around like I always do because I'm Mediterranean, and that's how we talk. I'm waving my hands around, and this guy is sitting in the chair adjacent to me, and I'm talking, and his head is right here. Okay, so I'm talking, I'm just whatever, just vibing, as they say, and I'm moving my hands around, and I move my hand this way, and this guy's head is right here, and he goes hang like that. And I've told this story before, but I'm saying it again because I want to talk about uh, manipulation and how predators work. And basically, this was the reality of this person's character. This is what he was trying to hide, but he couldn't really hide it because he was such a sick bastard. But when I pulled my hand back, and I'm thinking, did anybody else see that? What the hell just happened? Like, I was actually shocked by this. And this guy was very, very tall. He was very tall, imposing. He was taller than me, and he had huge hands. I remember he had these huge, big ass freaking hands, and very tall, very imposing. And he had the key to every single room in the dorm, and that really freaked me out. So I went back to my room, and I closed the door, and I freaking put every lock on. There were like 3 locks on this, or maybe 2 locks. I don't remember. There were multiple locks, but I activated every single lock on this door. I turned every lock on this door, and I had difficulty sleeping. I had goosebumps. I mean, this guy was a complete freak. Nothing happened, but I was looking at the door, sitting on my bed, and I kept thinking that this guy was going to try to come in because the guy was such a freak, and he just went Hannibal Lecter on me with that bite. And I remember on my last night in the village, we were having dinner, and everybody was talking, and most of us were standing up. And this guy, this crazy monk, approaches me, and he asks me if I want to dance with him. And I'm thinking, I only dance with women. What are you talking about? And he just walked away. The guy was such a freak. And his favorite movie, I asked him what his favorite movie was. His favorite film was a movie about the life of Prince, the singer. The name of the band, Prince, right? Prince, singer. Yeah, was it? No, it wasn't Prince. It was who was the guy who sang Bohemian Rhapsody? Bohemian Rhapsody. This who was the guy? I hate this crap. Queen. He was obsessed with Queen, and he was obsessed with the song Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, what monk is like? You would think a monk would tell you, "Oh yeah, my favorite movie is this film about the life of Christ, or this film about the life of Saint Paul." Like, you would expect that, right? But no, he tells you, "Oh, my favorite movie is about the life of Bohemian Rhapsody, like the life of Queen and the story of the song Bohemian Rhapsody." And then he tells me, and I didn't ask him about this. He just tells me this. He says, "Oh, there's some homosexuality in the film, but nonetheless, it's a great movie." And I'm thinking, this can't be right? This is totally this is totally suspicious. But anyway, this experience that I had, like the fact that he started giving me this excessive compliment about how he knew that I was a man who pursued after God within the first 10 minutes of us meeting, and then the obvious predator behavior. It reminds me of a film that I watched a couple of years ago. It's called Creep. If you have not seen this movie, I will say it is one of the strangest, most unsettling films that I've ever watched. When I first watched the film, I turned it off after maybe like the first 10 minutes. I just turned it off. But eventually I watched the whole thing. It is a very unsettling film. And it's about this... I won't spoil it for you if you're interested in seeing it. If you're the type of person who gets mad at somebody for recommending a movie that's disturbing, then don't watch this movie. If you're the type of person who buys films that are edited for homeschoolers, don't watch this movie. But if you're the type of person who can appreciate horror and can appreciate found footage horror, then you're probably going to I don't want to say enjoy, but you're probably going to get a fearful experience after watching this film, and you'll appreciate that as a fan of horror. Okay, I'll just put it to you that way. I didn't really enjoy watching this movie, but nonetheless, I did appreciate the acting in this movie and how accurately they were able to portray a predator. That's what this film was about. This film was about a predator who preys on people, and he capitalizes on their emotions, and he uses compliments, and he uses excessive politeness to make you feel super comfortable. So this movie is about a guy who is a professional cameraman, and he advertises his camera services on Craigslist, and he gets an offer to be a cameraman for a guy who claims that he's suffering from cancer, and he wants somebody to film his life for 24 hours for his unborn child, because he's going to, according to his story, he's going to die before his son is born. And so he wants a video that his son can watch so that his son can remember his father. That's the story that this guy presents, but that ends up being a lie, and he starts manipulating this cameraman, talking about how he feels like, that we're best friends, and I feel like I know you so well, even though we've been hanging out for just a few hours, and I feel like I can trust you. And he just starts acting too friendly with the cameraman. He's acting too friendly. He's acting as if he's known him for years. He's acting as if he's had this instant connection with him, and he makes the cameraman feel really safe, like a little too safe. And that's what he does. And then once he makes you feel safe enough, bam, he attacks. And it's a very creepy movie. But that movie, Creep, is probably the best depiction I've ever seen in a movie of a predator and of what someone is going to. It really shows how someone is going to act before they strike. Many times predators are not going to act rudely with you. Sometimes they will, if they think that they can make you long after their acceptance. Many times people will treat people rudely as a way to get that person to want to gain their acceptance, to gain their friendliness. But many times predators will act super friendly with you, and they will love bomb you, and they will give you excessive compliments, and they do this to make you feel really safe and really comfortable, and then before you know it, they strike. And this is how predators act. So be very careful when people act too friendly with you when they first meet you. They act with excessive compliments, and they try to act as if they've known you for years, or they try to act as if they've had this amazing connection with you, even though you've only known them for 10 minutes. Anyway, those are my thoughts. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.